Velma is one of the worst rated pieces of content to release this year, and it seemed inevitable that we'd be getting a season 2 since they sounded like they signed for multiple seasons at once, but luck might have finally run out for Mindy Kaling since Warner Brothers has now suspended deals with her and also J.J. Abrams going forward. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media so you can see when my content is posted, and of course if you do really enjoy the videos and live streams I create, consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So as you can see, this article says Warner Brothers suspends deals with Mindy Kaling, J.J. Abrams, and other top creators. Now, of course, Hollywood has been in a state of catastrophe over the past few weeks and months. They have been facing the strikes. I could care less, to be honest, simply because a lot of the people who are striking are self-centered, rude individuals like Rachel Zegler, but we are talking about a lot of creative deals inevitably falling through now, which does severely damage the industry and also the companies who have been pretty full of themselves, saying things like, oh, we'll just wait them out, they'll eventually cave in to our demands, they'll eventually, come back down to earth and actually work with us on deals. And now we are starting to see deals falling through, projects being canceled, things being, indefinitely delayed. It says Warner Brothers Discovery on Wednesday suspended deals with some of the most high-profile writers in the television industry, including Mindy Kaling, Lost co-creator J.J. Abrams, and Ted Lasso co-creator Bill Lawrence, a studio source said. Now, I'm personally not the biggest fan of J.J. Abrams. I definitely think that a lot of his content is overrated, but when it comes to Mindy Kaling, she is just someone that I genuinely do not like, and I never really had that big of an issue with her until she got her claws into Velma and she started spewing about how, oh, I'm going to make Scooby-Doo diverse and inclusive and modernized, even though that's not what any Scooby-Doo fans wanted. But I still can't believe that Velma actually released this year. It felt like it happened a year ago, but it happened in January, and this was a series that truly got destroyed. And a lot of people were shocked to hear, oh my god, they're doing a season 2, because their plans up until, I guess now, were to do a season 2, but it wasn't really all that surprising to me, simply because it seemed like they signed for multiple seasons at once. Mindy Kaling isn't really the type of person to do individual projects anymore. If you kind of look at her track record, she definitely does things in kind of clumps. She'll do one project for a few years and then move to another project for a few years, and it was sad to hear, because I do not think that she did a good job with Velma. I think that Velma was truly some of the worst content to release this year. It is up there with Netflix's Cleopatra and Netflix's, Depp versus Heard. And then, of course, we get into video games, which we have things like Gollum that just were not what we expected. But going into a potential season 2, we kind of figured that they would keep up the same diversity, inclusivity, modernization of Scooby-Doo, that we'd have all of these actors back. Of course, Mindy Kaling herself plays Velma, so Velma's just a giant self-insert, but people were not into this. I mean, a 39% critic isn't good, but a 7% audience is just one of the worst scores that you could possibly give something. I mean, it does not get much lower than that. And it just quickly looking at the comments, people just said how disappointed they really were. I mean, the average is a 0.9 out of 5 rating, which is just so hilarious to me. But people are, of course, really only giving it half stars and 1 star, saying things like ruining the Scooby-Doo name with terrible jokes and is incredibly racist. Also, it likes to make fun of its audiences, absolutely abysmal. Of course, people have complained about the writing, the fact that by the end, I guess spoiler alert if you haven't watched it, I don't recommend you waste your time, It's Fred's mother who's the villain, because of course she's white and they're some of the only white characters in the entire series, and she had nothing to do with the rest of this series. It was like this big major surprise by the end. So you've got just the awful writing, the characters being completely different, of course the race swaps, which did upset people, and no Scooby-Doo. It just created like a pile of problems that nothing could have made better. You know, they couldn't just slightly change the writing going into season 2 and fix it. They couldn't just, you know, make the characters closer to how they originally were and make things better. There's just a pile of problems that nobody could get past unless you completely scrapped season 1 and changed it all going forward. Worst show of all time. Bad, really bad, dump it, absolutely horrible, and nothing like the original. Don't ever change how characters look or act, and never try to get rid of Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was great until some meddling kids made the worst show ever. Yeah, I mean, none of the characters are the same. You have, of course, the male characters who have their issues, like Fred has a lot of white privilege. There is no Scooby-Doo. The female characters like Velma and Daphne are wildly different than they previously were. But yeah, I mean, up until now, we knew that they were doing a season 2. It was set in stone. We even heard that it was going into pre-production soon. But it seems like all of these Hollywood strikes and all of these deals falling through, you know, may lead to a different fate for this series. I mean, Warner Brothers suspending deals with her definitely does not sound good. And of course, they could decide to go forward with it in the future and work out new deals, but we, up until, you know, just now, thought that there was going to be a season 2 happening, despite all of the controversy. And in my opinion, this is one of the best moves that Warner Brothers has made in a long time. They have been losing such a massive amount of money with movies like, of course, The Flash, which definitely did not did not do the numbers that they were hoping and expecting. And now they have to look to the future and go, okay, we've got these strikes going on. We have to, you know, think about after the strikes, whenever they get done, who are we going to want to work with the most? And it seems like maybe Velma season 2 will not happen. I personally don't want it to happen. Season 1 was just a disaster. It didn't even deserve to get a season 1, let alone a season 2. But Mindy Kaling was so full of herself, saying how proud she was of the cast and the crew and how amazing Velma did for, you know, HBO Max as an HBO Max original. It was the #1 HBO Max original, even though there were only 5 and only 2 others were really well known. One about the royal family, which had okay ratings, and then of course Santa Inc., which was one of the worst rated pieces of content to release in 2022. So it wasn't really that high of a bar to surpass. But yes, right now it looks like Velma season 2 is still up in the air. Maybe they'll end up going through with it at some point, but it doesn't really seem like it, given that they have now suspended deals with, you know, higher ups in the industry like J.J. Abrams, but also Mindy Kaling. I bet that she is so mad right now, so furious that this didn't work out, and honestly, I think that it's hilarious. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this and found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.